to today's Los Blancos podcast. Today we have two sections. The first section will be a Mallorca review after yesterday's game, which was a 1-0 win against Mallorca in Somos. And then the second part of today's video will be the Manchester City review and preview. So we'll be looking at the tie we'll look at what's going to happen midweek this week in the Etihad. And then we'll also be looking at what happened last week as a result as well. So, a packed episode today. Let's get right into it with the Mallorca review. And I think this is going to be a little bit less. It's going to be a bit shorter than other reviews. But, you're still going to get all the main analysis. And the main analysis we can give from this win is that it was a good win. It was a good win and it's a valuable win because, Mallorca always causes problems, especially when we go to Mallorca ourselves. And I think, it's a huge win, especially in the context of this game, which is next week we have Barcelona, we have El Clásico at the Bernabeu, and then midweek obviously we got Manchester City. So it's a huge win. We needed to rotate, and we did. So I think in the context of that, it's a huge win, and I think the players played well. They gave a good performance, most of them, and I think it was a very, very convincing performance. We did have to get a Shermany wonder goal to beat Mallorca, but at the end of the day, a win is a win at this point of the season, especially when we've got bigger games coming up, games that we possibly do need to win, which is this week. This week is probably going to be the season-defining week of the season, and so this Mallorca win, lodged in between some big games. You had to beat Mallorca, plain and simple. So yeah, I'm really happy with this win against Mallorca, and if we delve into the performance a little bit, first half it was very slow, and I thought we didn't create much. We couldn't. We were really slow. We were really lethargic. We could tell that some of the players needed a little bit more rest, and it just felt like, this was going to get into a game where we had to step it up in the second half, and we did. I think in the second half we created a lot more chances. In the first half we had that Bellingham chance which hit the crossbar from outside the box, which was a really good shot from him, but just hit the crossbar. And Brahim Diaz had a couple dribbles into the box, but just couldn't apply a shot to the end of it, and it just felt like, all of this first half, it was a bit of a waste of a first half. We didn't really create much apart from that Bellingham goal, which not goal shot, but at the end of the day we got the job done second half with an early Shermany goal in the second half. From way out, we finally got his long shot package, which we've been waiting for a long time for. But yeah, it's an important win. If we look at one of the performances in particular, I think we've got to look at the Brahim Diaz performance, because I think that was the main takeaway from this match. The fact is that we played Brahim Diaz and he didn't play great. I thought, this isn't like when Asensio didn't play great, you just didn't see him in the match. Brahim Diaz definitely made himself known in this match. You definitely felt his presence in the match, and that was fair enough. He definitely tried a lot of things. It's just his decision making in this game was particularly poor. I thought, getting himself forward, and I think he created a lot of chances for the team. He created a lot of chances for himself, but he just didn't make the right decision to go along with it. I think in a lot of positions, I think Brahim Diaz could have passed it to a teammate. He could have played a nice ball, and he just took the shot on himself. And then when he passed it, he could have took the shot on himself. A lot of these things where he should have done the other thing in that moment in time. And I think a lot of people have overreacted to this performance like it was hugely difficult. Obviously, we would be looking at this different in retrospective if we had drawn this game, if we had dropped points, or even if we had lost, we would have been looking at this performance in a lot worse terms. So I think that's the main thing, with Brahim Diaz. You just got to say, Brahim Diaz has been giving us a lot of good performances this season. He's been really good this season. Just give him this game. Just give him this game, and it's okay. At the end of the day, it's a bad game from him. He should have done better, but it wasn't like this guy just ghosted the 90 minutes or however many he played. And at the end of the day, he's shown us this season that he provides us with something completely different from the rest of the attackers. He works so hard, and I think one bad game we can let him off. It's fine. It's a difficult game against Mallorca, who last week were in the Copa del Rey final. They played a 5-4-1, which is, from the beginning, from the very beginning, you could tell that this was going to be a difficult game. Javier Aguirre definitely set that Mallorca team up to just frustrate us, and they did. They did frustrate us, and I think a lot of the occasions, Brahim Diaz was the one to break them down. Brahim Diaz was the one to try and move the players out of position, move guys out of position, and draw a few fouls and get us into dangerous positions. But it just wasn't, the output wasn't there, and I think in a lot of on a lot of other days you would have said, looked at Brahim Diaz and said this was an excellent performance. He got 2 goals and an assist, but here in this game he didn't get that, and so people overreacted. I think you've just got to take him anything. You just got to accept it and just move on, because it was a bad performance from Brahim, a bad decision making performance from Brahim Diaz, but what can you do? You just move on, and let's move on to the next game, which is obviously a huge one, because this is a valuable rest for Vinny, and I was a bit questionable about that. I wasn't sure whether we needed to rest Vinny for this game, because Vinny had 15 days prior to that. He obviously didn't play against Athletic Club last week, and we obviously had a week off as well. I was questionable whether Vinny needed a rest here. And talking about guys who needed a rest, I mean, Bellingham and Valverde both started this game, and I was a bit questioned towards that. Why did you play Bellingham and Valverde in this game, especially when you looked at this team and you would say this is going to be an intense match? I think you should have dropped Fede for this game. I think Fede has been running on pure adrenaline for these last few games, and I just think overall you just had to play Valverde. You had to drop him, and you had to give him some rest here, because at the end of the day you needed Valverde to be at his best for Man City game. He played fantastic midweek, but you needed him to be at his best, and yet you still played him, which is really annoying. I think you should have given him some rest in this game, but whatever. And then Bellingham, you could tell just needed some rest, and I think that he wasn't given it. He needed some rest. You could tell he had some good moments in this game, but you could tell he's struggling for form a little bit recently. And I think the best thing to do nowadays is just give him some rest, let him come back midweek fully fit, and that's not what you did. You continued him. So I think Ancelotti, he dropped Rodrigo rightfully. I think he needed some rest, but you should have given Valverde and you should have given Bellingham some rest in this game too. I think that was a wrong decision from Carlo, but what can you do at the end of the day? What can you do? Yeah. But I think we must talk about Arda Güler. I think this was a perfect game for Arda to start. I think, a tough game against Mallorca, especially a tough crowd. It looks like he's not fazed by those things. And I think this would have been a nice game for him to start. But Ancelotti, once again, didn't even play him. He didn't even get a substitute appearance. And I understand why he didn't get substituted on, because, it was a tight game against Mallorca. You didn't need an attacking sub. Mallorca were pressing, they were getting at us at the end. And so, yeah, it made sense why he didn't come on. But I think from the start, it would have been smart, because Jude definitely needed a rest. And it felt like one of those days where, Ancelotti wanted to play Jude back into the goal-scoring form that he needed to. But I think at this point, you just got to trust that Jude will be back to his best at the Etihad. He may not be, but you just got to trust it, and you just got to hope that he will be, and that you just got to get him back to his full fitness level rather than his full mental level. And I just hope that he will be at his full mental level at the Etihad. I don't think this game done anything for him. I don't think he would have done anything for him, and that in addition to what he was going to already do at Manchester City, I just don't think this game has helped him in any way, shape or form. So I just think, for me, it's good looking at it from hindsight, but I still think that Carlo made a mistake. I think he should have played Arda Güler from the beginning. This was the game to play him, and especially next week against El Clasico. Unless we blow Barcelona out, I don't think Arda's going to get any minutes against Barcelona, which is annoying. It's definitely not what we want to see, but what can you do? What can you do with these things? And another thing we want to talk about is Militao. Militao got another few minutes. You know, Carlo at the end of the game in the press conference said that Militao would have got more minutes, but he didn't want to risk him in such a tight game. Which made sense, and I think this probably does confirm that Eder Militao probably won't play unless it's a blowout against Manchester City, which I highly doubt it's going to be a blowout against Manchester City. So, it looks like Eder Militao is not going to be playing uh, against Manchester City, which is really annoying. But you know, what can you do? You know, you just got to say fine and move on. You got to move on and play Manchester City without Eder Militao at centre back, which we have done for most of the season, which is not what we want to see. But you know, you just got to move on at the end of the day and hope that you know we can get the win without him. And you know, you would have hoped that he started. Maybe not. He didn't start, so that's one thing. I thought Nacho was fine in this game. He didn't look that bad, and I thought Rudiger was great. And you saw the job he did on Haaland, which we'll talk about in a second. I thought Lucas Vazquez was great. I thought Lucas Vazquez was great in this game. I thought he got down the right really well, held the width and all that he normally does. I think that contract should be coming soon. Hopefully it does. I think Lucas Vazquez still has some service for Real Madrid. With Nacho, there's been a lot of things between him and Carlo Ancelotti apparently, with Nacho being unhappy. And in this situation, I have to take Carlo's side because Nacho has played practically every minute of every game up until the point where he started losing the favour, and Tchouaméni started playing centre back. He had the trust of Carlo Ancelotti and the hires, and he's not repaid them. So I don't understand why Nacho's getting angry at Carlo Ancelotti, you know, saying that he hasn't got any trust. He had the trust until he messed it up and started playing badly. I think this is completely on Nacho in this situation, and I fully back Carlo Ancelotti because you know he has played every minute of every game practically up until a few games ago where his dropping was warranted. And you know, it looks like maybe this is going to be his last season at Real Madrid, and I just don't see a way back for him because he is fully struggling right now. And I just think, you know, he's got a big game against Manchester City to prove himself this week in midweek, because I hope Carlo Ancelotti does not do something stupid and play Dani Carvajal at centre back. But I think this is probably Nacho's last season, and I think he hasn't done any favours for himself because he hasn't been great this season. And I think him being angry at Carlo Ancelotti, I don't think is warranted because Carlo Ancelotti's done everything for him. It hasn't been like Carlo hasn't backed him. Carlo had backed him from the beginning, and yet he still doesn't. I think this is completely unwarranted from Nacho, and I think from the captain, it's just not what we want to see. So, I think this is probably gonna be Nacho's last season at Real Madrid, which is sad to see because he is a club legend, but he hasn't been great. He hasn't been great this season, and it does look like his legs are gone for us. I don't think this is for him. And then you look at Vinny, back to Vinny. Vinny I thought was great when he came on. He created a few big chances, created himself some chances, and I think that's good. That's a good omen for midweek. Hopefully, he plays well. But yeah, I mean, Fede had a great chance to score. I'm a bit concerned for Fran Garcia because he hasn't played in quite a while. Is he alive? I haven't seen him in a while, but I hope Fran Garcia starts to get some more minutes, especially in the games where we can do it without Mendy defending us. You know, we got 7 games left of the La Liga season. You know, it was a huge win today. We're 8 points ahead of Barcelona because Barcelona went after us and beat Cadiz 1-0. So, you know, 8 points ahead of Barcelona right now. That's a pretty comfortable lead. 7 games left. El Clasico next weekend, like I said. If Barcelona win that game, we got 5 points. They're 5 points ahead behind us. If we win that game, we're 11 points ahead. If we draw, 8 points. So it's a pretty comfortable lead. And I think it looks like La Liga should be wrapped up. You know, in our games left. If I quickly pull up our games left, if you can just bear with me for a second. we've got Barcelona next week at home. Then we've got Real Sociedad at Anoeta. Then we've got Cadiz at home. And then we've got Granada away at the Carmenez. Then we've got, one second. We've got Alavés at home. Then we've got Villarreal away at the Ceramica. Then we've got Real Betis at home, and that is the final game of the season. So, some relatively tough games in there. You've got Real Sociedad, which is always going to be a difficult game, but they haven't been on great form. Cadiz have been on decent form. Granada are looking like they're going to get relegated this season. Alaves are probably going to be safe by that point. Villarreal are really hot right now. They're looking pretty good. They're not going to get anywhere near Champions League or European qualification, but so they probably will be dry by that point, home and dry. And then Real Betis for the last game. Maybe Betis is fighting for Europa League and Conference League qualification at that point. So that could be a big game, the last game of the season. But I think we should have things wrapped up by that point. So these games, not hardest, but not the easiest either. So mid-table games for the mid-table opponents that we're mostly going to be facing for the rest of La Liga. Apart from that, I think that is the Mallorca review done. Let's move on to Manchester City after this short interval. We are back, and let's talk about Manchester City, because there's a lot of things I want to talk about, and we've got plenty of time to do so. So midweek, you played Manchester City on Tuesday, and it was an interesting game. It was a game which I think we dominated. To be totally honest, City had points. City had fantastic periods in this game where they were really good, especially in that early second half up until Guardiola scored the second goal. At that point, we realised, okay, this game we had to try to start to take it to Manchester City. If we take it by the minutes, I thought we started off really well. Then Bernardo Silva scored that goal, which I think Lunin should have done so much better in. I think Lunin should have. I can't even get onto it. I think Lunin should have sorted that stuff out by that point, and he didn't. So I'm really disappointed with Andrew Lunin and how he dealt with that. Then if you look at the two goals, I think we responded fantastically with the Camavinga shot. You've got to get the crowd behind you, and Camavinga did exactly that. And then Rodrigo, this is why you trust that man. You've got to trust him, because he can definitely come up big in these games, and he did so in that game. Then we had plenty of chances, bro. We had so many chances to build on that lead, and we didn't take those chances. And I was so annoyed going into half, thinking we got to got 3, maybe even 4 in that first half. And I'm just thinking, will those chances hurt us? And turns out they did, because second half City came out, they dominated us. We just looked like we were unable to keep up with Manchester City, and they came out, they created chances for themselves, not clear-cut ones. They were not clear-cut chances, but we gave Phil Foden space on the edge of the box. And as much as people are going to say these 2 goals are flukes, when you give guys of this quality that much time and space in our halving, those positions outside of the box, those are good chances for guys of this quality. I'm sorry, for me and you, there may not be good chances, because we're not very good at football compared to these guys. But for guys like Phil Foden, Josko Gvardiol, Kevin De Bruyne, and other situations, these are good chances, and these are chances that they can definitely put away most times out of 10. So I think Phil Foden, we can cry about it as much as we want, but those are chances that these guys are going to put away most of the time. And it's our fault for not closing them down quick enough. Phil Foden put them away, and then Guardiola put it away straight away, and then we responded. Brahim Diaz came on, Luka Modric came on, and the energy changed. Fede Valverde came up with a huge goal, and I think it was just. I think Carlo Ancelotti dealt with the game wrong in the second half. In the first half, I think Carlo Ancelotti picked the perfect lineup. I think it was completely fine. I think he did really well. But then, the way we responded in the second half, we sat back, we invited pressure, and that's what Manchester City wanted. You've seen so many times this season when Manchester City have struggled. It's when Manchester City have been pressed, when Manchester City have been made uncomfortable. If you let them have the ball, Manchester City will find a way to break you down. There's no reason to believe that Manchester City won't break you down. And they've shown so many times over the years that they find that easier than being pressed, like Liverpool did, like we did in the first half. We pressed Manchester City and we made them uncomfortable. And we stopped that in the second half because Fede Valverde said after we just couldn't do it. Now, there's one simple response to that, and that is make the subs. Make the subs, because I know you want Vinny and Rodrigo and Bellingham on the pitch, but if they're physically unable to press, then you've just got to make those subs. And I think Carlo Ancelotti made the subs of Brahim Diaz and Luka Modric a bit too late in this game after the Guardiola, and we saw the immediate response with Fede, and Fede scoring that goal. You just got to make those subs a lot quicker, because even before the win, as soon as you can tell Manchester City has taken the grip on this game and they're gonna score sooner rather than later, you've got to make those subs. You've got to pull the trigger and make those subs a lot quicker. A lot of people made a lot of Vinny's performance. I wasn't that annoyed with Vinny's performance. I don't understand why people were so annoyed with Vinny's performance. I thought Vinny was excellent. In getting those 2 assists. What I will say though is Vinny should have put away some more chances. That chance where he was on the left hand side and he had the whole goal basically to aim at, and Ortega just couldn't do anything. If he had just slotted it away, Ortega couldn't have done anything, and yet he hit it over the bar. That should have gone in. I think Vinny had a chance on the left half space, and he just hit it straight into Ortega's hands. Those chances Vinny has to be putting away. I thought Bellingham had a poor game. He provided us a lot defensively and in transition, but I think in terms of in and around the box, I think Bellingham was poor. I think you've just got to hope that Bellingham steps up second leg. I think Rodrigo, he provided his value. He scored a goal, and I think overall he looked like our most dangerous attacker most of this game. I think you've got to be getting at them the whole game, and I think Brahim Diaz needed to come on a lot earlier than he did. Joselu, I don't think this was a game because we weren't putting in crosses, so I don't understand why you put on Joselu. I think this could have been a game where you could have put Arda Güler on. I really think you could have put Arda Güler on, and I think I understand why you didn't put on Frank Garcia or Dani Ceballos, but I think overall a lot of people are making a lot of this performance, and I think, to be honest, it was a performance that warranted a win. And if it wasn't for 3 outstanding goals from Manchester City, we should have got that win. We should have gone away, and we should have said, great win for Real Madrid. We take a good significant lead going into the leg at Manchester City. But now we look at it and we say, well, we've got to do our job at Manchester at City, and a lot of people have been saying Real Madrid don't have a chance second leg, and I think you clearly haven't been a fan for long enough to say that, because whenever Real Madrid, if it's an even scoreline, Real Madrid always have a chance, and I don't care if it's at City, and I understand the odds aren't in our favour, and I would agree with that. I agree that Manchester City are huge favourites, but to say that we don't have a chance is crazy, because it's at the end of the day, this is a 0-0 scoreline. This is literally everything to play for. This is the definition of everything to play for at the Etihad. And I know what happened last year. I saw what happened last year, and I dread looking at what happened last year. But everything we were saying before the first leg, this is a completely different Manchester City side. That was what we were saying. That was what we were preaching before the first leg. We were saying this is a completely different Manchester City side. This is a worse Manchester City side. This is a better Real Madrid side for them than last year. Why has that suddenly changed? Because we got 3-3 a draw. I'm disappointed with the result, as most of the guys are. I think Carlo Ancelotti was disappointed. Fede surely was disappointed. I think the Highers were very, very disappointed with that draw. But you've just got to take it away for what it is. It's a draw. It's not what we wanted, but you've got to deal with it now. You've got to deal with it, and it's not a favourable draw, but you've just got to go for it now, because I think this shows that you've just got to go for it. You had the template. You have the template because you know what you have to do now against Manchester City next week on the Wednesday. There is very, very clear what Manchester City struggled with, and I think let's get onto that, because if we look at the preview for what we're going to go for this week, I think Manchester City. Let's start with their top lineup. Goalkeeper will be Stefan Ortega. I think that's fine. Right back, Kyle Walker will be back for this game. Ruben Diaz, John Stones, and then Guardiola will be playing this game, I think. Then the midfield, same thing. I think Rodri. I was really surprised De Bruyne didn't start, but obviously he had that illness, so that probably benefited us. Kevin De Bruyne, and then Phil Foden, and then Bernardo Silva, Haaland and Grealish will probably start the front three. So we know what to expect from Manchester City at this point. We saw what worked for them in this leg, and what didn't. You've just got to get at them. It's as plain as simple as that. I know the Etihad can be scary. I know what happened last year, but you've got to go at them. There's no recipe for being shy. You can't just let them. You can't let them have the ball, because you saw what happened last year when you let them have the ball and you let them pin you down. You've got to go at them. You've got to be non-stop on them, no matter what happens. Even if they play through you, you've just got to go for it, because you've just got to trust that you can do it. Because I think that if we go into this game and we sit back and absorb the pressure, then there's no chance. I agree with you. There's no chance. But if you try and attack them, especially with this Real Madrid side, if I personally like it if you sit back and absorb the pressure, because I think it works for a lot of teams. But for this Real Madrid team, I don't think it works at all, because I've seen so many occasions where this team tried to sit back against Barcelona and they just don't know how to do it properly, and they do it against Manchester City. They don't know how to do it properly. And so I just think you've got to get at them. You've got to get at them non-stop throughout this game. And when Jude seems tired, you take him off for Brahim Diaz. When Vinny seems tired, you take him off for I don't know, for help me out here. For it's just anyone, take him off for Abdul, take him off for these guys who will non-stop press. You've just got to press. I don't care if you haven't traded it. You just got to press them. And I think Manchester City will struggle if you do that. Someone like Rodri, you look at Rodri and you look at him and say he's so tight, but he's so fantastic possession-wise. He struggled in the first half when you pressed him. So just press him non-stop. Then the next thing, they don't look comfortable with the ball over the top. You've just got to take the risk. I don't think you're going to work it out by playing short. Man City will press you in this leg in the Etihad, and they will win the ball back. There's no if, buts, or maybe. They will win the ball back if you try and play out from the back. You've just got to play the right ball, and we've got fantastic switches at the ball. We've got guys like Rudiger, we've got guys like Tchouaméni, Tchouaméni is not available for this leg, but you've got guys like Cruz, you've got guys like Valverde, you've got guys like Carvajal. These guys are fantastic at playing the ball, playing the switch, and you've got to get Vinny just running. You've got to get Vinny with that matchup against Ruben Diaz, and get him running non-stop throughout this game. Get him running behind the defense. Same thing with Rodrigo. You've got to get these guys running, and the outlet will be Jude Bellingham. Try and knock it down to Jude Bellingham. This will be the recipe. You've got to get him these balls in behind, because that Highlander City, they've got a slow defense in the center. You've got to get Rodrigo and Vinny through that center and knocking that ball in behind, just constantly making that the main problem for Manchester City. They looked really nervous dealing with that in the first half. Even in the first few minutes, you saw Rodrigo's goal come from that. He had a few chances. Vinny had a few chances from that. And that is the recipe for success in this game. Just hit it in behind, keep going non-stop. And the main thing is, do not let yourself do that thing where Real Madrid do it every single time we take a lead against one of these teams. You'd start to go further and further back. No, as soon as you see yourself doing that, drop yourself, take yourself a few steps forward, and make sure that Manchester City don't do that. If that's an implication of the fact that you're you're sitting back and you're playing out from the back, then hit it long. There's nothing wrong with hitting it long. I don't care if if it works for Barcelona, you hit it long. I don't give a damn if you lose the ball that way. You've just got to make sure that Manchester City do not pin you down and cause problems that way. You've just got to keep pressing, keep causing problems that way. And I think that battle between Rudiger and Haaland, it was working. Rudiger had Haaland's number. You've got to do it again. This is a game where Haaland just didn't do anything first half, first leg, and I just think you've got to do the same thing once again. Rudiger had his toughness with the assignment. Nacho, be the disciplined defender that you can be. Don't be the clumsy idiot that's been happening this whole season. I've seen big performances from Nacho in these games. Be the important, disciplined defender that does and sticks to a job. Rudiger's busy with Haaland. Make sure that you track any runner that comes in from behind, and don't make any clumsy challenges inside the box. Ferland Mendy, you've got a big task coming up ahead of you. Big task. You've got to deal with Bernardo Silva, and I think Bernardo Silva or Phil Foden, whoever comes on that right hand side and causes problems. Make sure that cross doesn't come into Haaland. If it does, Rudiger hopefully will deal with it, but you've just got to make sure that all of this doesn't happen. Make sure no shots come off. Dani Carvajal, he's been rested for this Mallorca game. Good reason. And I think he dealt with Jack Grealish pretty well first leg. I think he did really well. But, if we recall, come back to last year, Dani Carvajal had a shocker against Jack Grealish. And I think that's going to be a key battle. You just got to make sure that Dani Carvajal doesn't make any stupid challenges from the beginning. And hopefully he can get forward, cause some problems that way as well. Fede's got to be, you just got to be massaging that guy from the minute, from now until the game on Wednesday. You've got to make sure that this guy is as comfortable as possible, because this guy has to be running up and down the whole game, and he has to cause problems on the attacking end as well. This has to be the main thing. This guy has to be the guy to press, to start the press, and he also has to be the guy to maybe score a few goals as well. You've got to cause that problem yourself. Camavinga, you're trusted with dealing with De Bruyne, and that's a tough game. That's tough choice for you to do, but you've got to be trusted with doing that. And I think Camavinga can definitely do that. And I think Camavinga needs to, he had a mare at the Etihad last year, but I think Camavinga, he has to be trusted in possession. He has to be big with this game, because you're talking about a guy who needs to be resistant under pressure. This is the most important position. This is the position where we struggled in the last 2 years at the Etihad because of the press. We didn't have Shermani here last year. We played Toni Kroos in the DM position last 2 times at the Etihad, and see what happened. We got absolutely blown by, and we couldn't do anything because Tony was absolutely overloaded. Camavinga needs to be great in this position here. Same with Toni Kroos. That double pivot is going to be huge in this game. You've just got to make sure that these guys do not get outnumbered, overloaded, and totally taken out in the press. You've got to play narrow when you're trying to build up from the back and try and get forward in that way. Jude Bellingham, come on, man. You've got to step up for this game. This is the biggest game of the season. You've got to step up. This is a huge game for Jude Bellingham, and it's been a few games since he scored, but I don't mind that. You just got to be huge, and I think if Jude plays to his best of abilities, then you've got a chance. So that's for Jude. And then Vinny. I mean, less needs to be said about Vinny. He's got a huge game. Kyle Walker, stay central. Make sure you drift towards a little bit of central positions. Try and cause problems for Ruben Diaz rather than Kyle Walker. And I think overall, you got the number on Ruben Diaz. I think you can definitely take out Ruben Diaz completely fine. So. That is it for today, I think. If I was to give you a prediction, I don't want to be drawn into predictions. I don't like predicting this. I normally leave this out of the podcast every week. I have faith. I do have faith in this Real Madrid team to learn from the mistakes of last year. Every single mistake that we made last year. I want Carlo to be proactive. I don't want him to be reactive in this game, and I want Real Madrid to win this game no matter what. I know we can do it. I know we can beat Manchester City. We haven't won 14 Champions Leagues to be scared of Manchester City in this stage. You know, you can be wary of what they did last year, but don't come here and tell me that, you know, Real Madrid do not have a chance, because they do. They always do. And I know if I was to give you a chance of victory in this game, I would say Real Madrid have a chance for, let's say, I'm gonna say 35% chance victory in this game. I think Manchester City are 65% favourites in this game. A lot of people are saying a lot worse. I'm gonna say Real Madrid win in extra time. I'm gonna say Real Madrid win in extra time 3-2. It's gonna be 2-2 going into extra time, and I think Rudiger scores a goal to win us this game. So it's a bold ass prediction. I know that. I know that for sure. But you know, you've just got to back Real Madrid at this stage, and you know, this is make or break for the season, because after this game, you're talking about El Clasico, and if we don't win this game, if we lose this game, and we're knocked out of the Champions League, we're going to be sitting on our asses for the rest of the season, just twiddling our thumbs, wondering what to do, because we're just going to be waiting for the trophy parade at the end of the season for La Liga. So yeah, I mean, this is a huge game. You know, I certainly don't want to be this. I don't want this to be the last game of the Champions League. This Champions League era for us, I want this Champions League era to be marked with a Real Madrid win. And I certainly do not want, this is the main thing, I don't want to see Barcelona advance on the other side as well, because they got an easy draw with PSG. I'm sorry, that PSG team ain't nothing. I'm really annoyed at how Barcelona got such an easy draw on that side. But, you know, I want to see us in the final in Wembley in June. So yeah, that is it for today. Let me know what your guys' predictions are for this game. But that is it for today. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye bye.